There's those folks. Let's get Facebook in here. StreamYard seems to be working a little bit better today. Yesterday was a little clunky, and it kicked me out of my microphone, so apologize if my audio wasn't as good. There we go. All right. Welcome in, everybody. It's the 17th. It's Wednesday morning, time for an episode of Broncos for Breakfast. It's Scott and I again, at least for a few episodes, and things should really start to normalize here pretty soon. One more week of a little bit of chaos for me being out. And I know Scott will have a few things here and there before the start of the season, but we're here. We're live. We're hanging out. Good morning, Scott. How you doing? What's new?
Doing good. It was just interesting last night. We had the breaking news while you were live.
Yep.
So I just I'm posting the gut reaction. It was Carl because Nick was like, I gotta go call Chad. We gotta get this up. So but yeah, good news. Quinn Miners, massive new deal for a player who has earned it.
Yeah, he has. Yeah, great for him. And pretty interesting, I guess, ramifications, not ramifications, but what does it mean for the ideology of this Bronco team? How are they building? Are we going to make too much of their specifics, or is it just, the next guy deserved getting paid? We'll get into it here. But first, want to say hello to the chat. As you guys come in, make sure you click the thumbs up on the way in. We got real Bronco stuff happening today. Rookies are reporting for the offseason program today, training camp starting up. So, I mean, we're here, hopefully, knock on wood over here. No injuries, everybody healthy, and exciting big Broncos rookie draft class, probably the most important draft class they've had in a long time, considering they took a quarterback. We'll see if it can match that 2021. Hopefully more 2021 than 2022 and 2023, but we'll see. Right? Optimism's always super high until we actually see the product on the field, and the potential gets replaced with the actuality. So we'll see. But first, go ahead, Scott. Do you have something to say?
Say no. Now's the time where we fan, where the hope kicks over and every player is a sleeper and a steal and future star. And then a year later, like, man, none of these guys work. What happened?
Yep, we'll always see. I mean, who knows? But excited about, he got them one of the sack leaders, Jonah Ellis. How did Troy Franklin fall into the fourth round? A lot of Devy folks thought he was a round 2 pick. Bo Nix, one of the most accomplished quarterbacks statistically, accumulation stat-wise, ever. But NFL's a different game, and there's volatility to it. So we'll see when the...
I used to say that about recruiting. I'd say, they're all 1-stars when they show up on campus.
Yep.
I mean, yeah, there's different pedigrees and stuff, but there's 5 stars coming in. And the other one I always used to say was every year of experience was worth half a star. It's like, well, how are these guys beating these USC 5 stars? Well, because the USC 5 stars are 19-year-olds in the trenches playing against Utah or BYU with 25-year-old men in the trenches that have been redshirted and kept, and it's competitive. So yeah, experience matters. Proven experience really matters. And we've seen how much it matters to the Denver Broncos when you've got a young, proven player with Quinn Miners. Pat Surtain, you're on deck.
Yeah, absolutely. And a few other big contracts for the Broncos we'll get into as well. But first, we got with First No Fear saying, good morning, Nick and Scott and all your Broncos country. Congratulations on your 500th episode. Yeah, Scott broke this news to me right before the show, like saying it's 500. And Dominique also says, much congratulations to today, 500th. Quinn, shout out to the whole Broncos family, MHH for life. Yeah, I had no idea it was our 500th episode. And as I said to Scott,
how did y'all know? Did you, because Chad numbers them on the podcast. So do y'all listen to the podcast also? Did you see it on the audio side? Because there's nothing on the video side that says anything about the numbers. So I was going to mention it because I load the audio after the fact. It's like, wow, this is 500. When I said that to Nick, you should have seen his face. He's like, wow, that's a lot of nonsense.
I mean, everybody, when you've pontificated and predicted and, just try to analyze based on as much as we have, especially, these kind of months and the draft talk that we do, there's going to be some misses in there for sure. But, it's kind of being a weatherman. We have the information here. We have models. We have data, but things play out differently. A stock market, right? With human beings, it's a hard thing to do, but we'll do the best we can, and we're accountable to you guys. So, hold our feet to the fire if we have something that's off or ends up being wrong, and try to grow and change. But 500 episodes, I mean, still going strong. So we must be doing something right. I mean, there's people hanging out in here, right? Yeah, we got 3 thumbs up on the Facebook side. It's the dead season, I know, but appreciate all the likes and everything coming in here. But 500, man, that's really awesome. A lot of fun, Scott. It's been since this is what, year 4 now. So
It's our 4th year. We should meet one of these days.
yeah, I mean, meet and greet this year. I'm
I feel like
heading
Nick's
out
been
there.
catfishing me all these years.
I'm actually just an AI generated generic Pacific Northwest guy. I got the scruff going on. Oh, he likes hiking hiking and IPAs. Yeah, he's real, I'm sure. Jeremy Sean, morning boy is going to be a lot of steak in that belly. Good for Quinn. Yeah, good for him as well. I don't know. I'd be curious now that he's paid. Maybe we can get a little insider information on him. What feeds the belly? Is it a lot of chicken, a lot of those lean proteins? Is he getting that red meat in there? All the nutrition stuff kind of fascinates me with some of these guys because he got leaner 2 years ago, put it back on this year for more of the power scheme. So what is the nutrition plan for Quinn Miners in that belly? Because whatever it is, it's working.
You see some of these guys and they have to really work to keep that kind of weight on. Who did we see recently? I saw a picture of it in Pouncey. I couldn't believe who it was. Did you see that picture going around?
It had to be one of the Pouncey twins, right?
That's right. And I can never remember them straight because they were identical twins. I knew them as sophomores at Lakeland High School. That Lakeland Dreadnoughts team was a juggernaut, the Dreadnoughts. And the twin brothers couldn't keep them apart before, and then they changed their names. So from when they went to college, they changed their names. I'm like, I couldn't tell you all apart before. So it was like Markeith and Marquise, and then Michael and Lakeith, or so it was. I was like, I can't keep it all straight.
Pouncey.
Yes, I don't know who it was, but yes, that's who it was. It was one of the Pouncey twins. David Pollock made one of those type of transitions too. That was like, my God, you went from a defensive tackler to a golfer.
Yeah, I mean the one that for Broncos country stands out. I mean, obviously you have Columbus lost a lot of weight, but Orlando Franklin. I mean, he was a 6'7", 335 plus monster, and now he looks like a model, right? He's like super slimmed down and Fashion Nova kind of guy. So good for Orlando Franklin as well. He was a scary looking dude coming out of University of Miami when they took him in that first or second John Elway draft class. So yeah, it's crazy to see those offensive linemen transition. I mean, it's really not healthy on their joints and stuff, right, to be that weight. So I'm always happy when they can lose that weight as well. And Robbie Red comes in and says re-signing Quinn was the perfect move. Also happy the Broncos didn't end up paying Cush $12 million per year. I mean, $12 million. We looked at the markets yesterday for interior offensive line and guard. I mean, the highest paid center right now is only 13.5, which I think is an absolute steal for how talented Frank Ragnow is for the Lions. But center market's not super high. It's one reason that like taking a center in the first round, even though it's the last one was Tyler Linderbaum, who's been great for the Ravens, it should be met with a little bit of skepticism because the cap and the value on that rookie contract on a center is not very high. But Denver now has to have one of, if not the highest paid offensive lines in football. You can get away with that when you have a rookie quarterback contract, although it's still kind of shocking to see that happening when you have that much dead cap this year. But we'll see what the numbers look like. Obviously not paying McGlinchey's probably not getting a huge cap hit this year with the restructure. I'm going to assume Quinn Miners is not going to get a huge cap hit this season, but still a lot of guaranteed money in that offensive line and not a lot of depth. So we'll see. But the starters definitely should be one of the better units in football this year, given what they're paying them.
You got to start drafting some guys if you want some depth.
I know. Yeah.
With what besides 7th round guys? I mean, it's like, oh, we've got 3 centers, but do you have one? That's kind of the problem right now. But yeah, Robbie Red, I'm with you on this. Lloyd Cushenberry is now the 2nd highest paid on average contract center in the NFL. So the 2nd highest paid. Do you feel like he was the 2nd best center in the NFL? I'm like, we were just happy he was serviceable. I'm like, I thought he stepped up to be okay after what 3 years? 3 years of awful. He stepped up to being okay. He held his own this year. No, I agree with you, Robbie Red. I think that was an overpay by the Titans, and good for them. Good for Lloyd.
Mm-hmm.
But
absolutely,
the Denver Broncos made the same decision I would have made on that one.
And that was one of the things we talked about a lot with Cushenberry when he was set to be a free agent. You're already paying McGlinchey a huge contract. Power is getting paid big. You probably want to have the flexibility to make a decision on Bulls where your hands are not tied. And you have Quinn Miners coming up. So it's really a Miners versus Cushenberry conversation. And when it comes to that, I know the center is you really don't want to have a bad center because that can tank your entire offense, but highly paid guards are more valuable. Just look at the market. So Miners was the easy choice there, and really happy to see them get it done before he played another season and was good. I mean, Sean Payton's not going anywhere in the foreseeable future, and this obviously is a very good scheme fit for Miners as well. I mean, heck, Scott, with where football's at right now, by and large, is good for Miners. It's not the smaller, lighter offensive lines that we saw, the Gibbs outside zone stuff. Right now, we're kind of going back to a lot of duo, a lot of power football against lighter boxes. Defenses are playing first and second down like pass downs now. So there's space to be had. So people who are earth movers, especially on the interior, are going to be sought after. And Quinn Miners, sometimes, a little bit hit or miss in some of his pass protection stuff. He can get a little bit over his skis and lose his balance, but he's one of the stronger, better run blocking guards in football. In my opinion, I didn't go through every single guard last year, but offensive line people I trust really spoke highly about Miners' power last season. And with where football's at right now, you want to be able to punish teams for playing light boxes, and Miners gives you an identity and a piece that can really help you with that.
So good morning, Michael. Appreciate you jumping over. And Adam asked, the contract starts next year. That's what it looks like. Not 100% sure on that, but it looks like an extension. So it gets started next year. Spot Rack isn't totally clear on that. And, just as we've been talking about Courtland Sutton, as I said earlier on a show earlier today, I don't mind an a-hole. I can't stand a hypocrite. I'm pretty even keel when it comes to these types of discussions. So 4 years, $80 million. No. For the Denver Broncos purposes, this is a 2-year, $45 million contract. It will be, and then it's basically 2 option years. His guaranteed money, take the total contract, divide it by the years, and look at the guaranteed. He has 45 guaranteed on an $80 million contract on a 4-year deal. That's 20 apiece. So it's basically a 2-year deal worth $45 million. In year 3, that guaranteed money is pretty much gone. If Quinn Miners gets to year 3 and he's been playing at a Pro Bowl level and has earned the first 2 years of this contract, and he has no guaranteed money left on his deal in year 3, and he says, hey, I want a new deal, I will support him in saying I want a new deal when his guaranteed money comes off the books, just like I have with Courtland Sutton. The non-guaranteed parts of these contracts are BS in the NFL. They're accounting moves is all they are. And it's not typically fair to the players who are risking life and limb out there, literally. So congratulations to him. But if it comes up like it has with Courtland Sutton, it comes up all around the NFL in the 3rd year of this contract when his non-guaranteed money is gone and he starts talking about wanting a new deal, I will support him for that.
And I'm with you 100%. And also to support him and make it more probable for the Broncos, he doesn't play a position that tends to fall off an absolute cliff when you reach that 28, 29, 30-year-old range for a lot of spots. I mean, the offensive line, they are built, and it's the size and the power doesn't tend to diminish like twitch and open field
strength.
Exactly. And it's very skill oriented. I mean, we talk about the skill position versus the big guys, but you might argue that there's more fine skills in the trench play than a lot of the guys on the perimeter where it's, pure open field reaction athleticism. So Miners is probably set up. You're getting him during his prime here, and he's probably set up, assuming, again, knock on wood, no big injuries. You might have him for another contract here, just given the position he plays. So will be awesome to follow, but happy to see him locked up for the Broncos. Let's say hello to some more folks coming in here. You have Jeremy giving us our flowers as well. 500 episodes, quite the accomplishment. Again, that's a whole lot of nonsense, but we appreciate you guys hanging out for it. Benjamin Flores, good to see you. Roy Osborne says T-minus 74 days till the department retires me. Well, Roy, I don't know what that's about, but there's always more to do, right? Life is short, and there's always new activities and things to entertain yourself and give yourself some purpose. So hopefully you are okay with that deadline coming down. But if not, hey, more time to watch football and hang out with us. Maybe you can get even more into the college football draft scene with us in the future if you have more time.
Well, so welcome back to work. Now we're going to retire you. Hopefully you get some good benefits with that one, though. That's for sure.
Yeah. Cole coming in says, congrats to the belly. Next up, PS2. Potentially next up, PS2. We'll get into that. Dave Glassman in here. Always good to see you. Gatorade Gaming in the house. Good morning, Nick and Scott. What's good? Broncos country. We're hanging out. And yeah, Michael says he nailed the Broncos signing Quinn before training camp. I am really happy that you were right about that, Michael. And it's something that we talked about in, God, Scott, what was it? March, when all these contracts were coming. I mean, the interior offensive linemen got paid this offseason. I think that was one of the more interesting moves. A lot of teams were letting their potentially highly paid interior offensive linemen test the market and sign elsewhere. So that's one factor that's worth mentioning. But we kind of saw a trickle-down effect. So interior defensive linemen, past couple seasons, they're getting paid like edge rushers. I mean, they're getting paid. We looked at the numbers yesterday. There's more interior defensive linemen getting $20 million per year than edge rushers these days, Scott, which actually is a little bit shocking to me. With that trickle down,
harder to find those guys that are 320 pounds that can move like dancing bears. It comes down to body types. The 250 guys that are running 4.4s are easier to find these days. As crazy as that sounds.
Yeah, that's true. I still would say the transcendent edge rusher is probably more likely to make an impact, just because, I mean, people say, what about Aaron Donald? Well, good luck finding Aaron
I
Donald.
agree. It's harder. They're just harder to find.
Yeah.
The rarity of the body type is just scarce.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. But I think with that interior defensive line money valuation we saw in the market the last few years, the interior offensive line has been risen as well. Maybe this is also a little bit of ramification of defenses have started to get really good, Scott, at isolating matchups on the offensive line. So let's say teams, I mean, for a while there, we have our 2 tackles and meh on the interior offensive line, but that doesn't matter because we got our edge rushers on the outside, the interior offensive line, we can protect them a little bit. Well, in the era of, with what we've seen with Mike McDonald and everything, simulated pressures, I mean, you got freaking Myles Garrett as a stand-up edge rusher playing nose on snaps now over the A-gap. So, I mean, we weren't seeing that level of creativity with pass rush and everything 5-10 years ago. So the interior offensive line.
Unless you want to talk about the zone blitzes of the 90s where you had defensive tackles dropping into coverage.
Yeah, you did have some of that, but not your like premier. You weren't having, Julius Peppers lining up over the A-gap many times. He had his spot, right, where he was at in rushing. So teams have gotten a lot more flexible with how they're trying to send packages. And it's, again, everything's cyclical, Dick LeBeau, the zone blitz stuff. But I think with that, you've seen a little bit of an elevation of the interior offensive line, and 3 of the top 5 guards in the NFL in terms of paid right now, I think we're all paid this offseason. You had Hunt, you had Dickerson, who's number 1 in the NFL now, and of course, Quinn Miners now making $20 million per year. So congratulations to him, and really happy that one of the young ascending talent pieces, which the Broncos don't have many that are obviously in that category, at least they're keeping that guy right now. So excited about that.
Yeah, you talk about building blocks. Who are they? Okay, well, he's locked up at least 3 more years now because, again, I think the contract starts 2025. Not 100% sure on that, but that's the way it looks to me, 2025, 2026. He turns 26 this year, 27, 28, and then the guaranteed money is gone, and he would be in line for an extension. He'd be in line for another one. So I think you're right. If he plays the way he's capable of playing, he should get at least a 3rd contract with the Denver Broncos. And he doesn't strike me as the type that's going to start taking plays off now that he's gotten paid. He's got a little bit of that crazy in him, which, you need that.
Yeah. And speaking of crazy, just kind of memory lane here. Quinn Miners, Wisconsin Whitewater Division III powerhouse out there. Really
Senior
good
Bowl
small
alum.
program. But what was that?
He was a Senior Bowl alum.
Senior Bowl. Yeah, I was getting to that. So his senior year of college didn't happen because of the pandemic. Division III football didn't exist that season. And Landon Dickerson gets injured in the college football playoffs. He is obviously the highest paid guard now, center guard. He was really good at Alabama out there. He transferred from somewhere, I think, Scott, but to get to Alabama, I don't remember. But he drops out in the Senior Bowl on a whim. They like getting some of the small school guys out there, and they bring in Quinn Miners, and he has a heck of a time down there in Mobile, Alabama. He vaults himself from, probably late day 3 pick, especially, Whitewater. How are you evaluating those guys against that competition without a senior year to go off of? And he plays pretty well, vaults himself all the way up to the 3rd round, pick 98, I want to say, overall. There were rumors that when Denver made that pick, a lot of people in the NFL were kind of, hand over the mouth laughing. How could Denver, use that high of an asset on a player that's that much of an outlier in terms of their career, the competition, et cetera, et cetera. But here we are now. Meinerz is one of the best run blocking guards in football. I think he was number 1 or 2 in the NFL and PFF in run blocking grades for guards last season, and an ascending talent. Now, don't get me wrong. He's not Zach Martin out there. It's not like Mike Iupati to that level yet, or of course, Chris Lindstrom. But he is one of probably the 5-10 best guards in football, and excited to see what he can do going forward, and really happy that he's part of this core.
That was a really good Senior Bowl class. That's Creed Humphrey sitting next to him, I think.
Yep, it was.
So, this was, we get down there like, yeah, you can find these guys. And he was taking snaps at center while he was down there. Because I remember there was talk about him coming in. Is he going to be a center? He's so strong. My God, when he anchors. I wanted to work this phrase in after driving again this weekend. I want my offensive lineman to anchor like a minivan with out-of-state plates in the left-hand lane of the highway. That's how set and fixed I want him to be, because there's no moving those minivans with out-of-state tags in the passing lane.
I hear you there on that one. Yeah, he's got an anchor. I mean, everybody loves, of course, the video of him in that pre-draft process of him out in the woods in Wisconsin, blocking trees and knocking down trees out there. And one thing I really appreciate about Quinn Miners, I love Patrick Surtain. He's always, really well-spoken, very intelligent, calm guy. Not a lot of viral clips. I just feel like he's kind of, very calm, polished. Yes. I mean, Dad's a professional. He's a professional. He does interviews too, but it's always just, he seems a little bit more on the introvert, calm side. Quinn Miners has got a little bit of a wild hair in him. Always good for a sound clip, and seems a very jovial kind of guy as well. I mean, after football, he's going to have a chance to play Santa if he wants to. I get the big beard, he's definitely, I get a lot of joy from life from him. Always great sound clips. And now that his wallet's going to be a lot thicker as well, and he knows he's safe and in Denver and appreciated, excited for more clips from Quinn Miners. I can't wait for the press conference. We're going to get that at some point, I'm sure, here with training camp coming up. But so excited for Quinn Miners. Great player. Happy he's in Denver for at least the next 3 years.
Well, it reminds me of Bull Durham, which is always one of my favorite lines. Was, hey, you got fungus on your shower shoes. You win 20 in the show, the press will call you colorful. Until you win 20 in the show, it means you're a slob. I think Quinn Miners kind of got put down a little bit with some of the theatrics as a rookie, with the belly and the belly shirt, that some of the veterans said, hey, kid, back it down a little bit. Because he didn't really say much about that. He was like, no, this is just kind of, the belly's kind of going away. I think some of the veterans probably said something to him like, hey, Rook, tone it down a little bit. Well, now he's got 20 in the show. Now the press can call you. They're going to call you colorful anyway, but now he can be who the hell he wants to be because he's earned it. Let it all hang out, Quinn. We love you for it.
Yeah. And now that he's gotten paid as well, a lot of times, especially for offensive line on a not good team, sorry, Broncos fans, takes a little bit for recognition to come there. It's almost always a year late. But now that he's gotten paid, I think you're going to see a little bit more of him, propped up from Broncos country, Broncos media. Hopefully the accolades will follow, because last season he was Pro Bowl worthy, Scott. So hopefully this season you start to see that come around as well. And man, what an investment the Broncos have made.
He was the number one run block
for PFF. Okay,
yeah,
I knew it was up there.
He was the number one run block with an 88.7. Then Kevin Dotson, 88.4, and then Chris Lindstrom at 87.5, and no one else was within 2 points. You know who was number 5? Our buddy Graham Glasgow came in at number 5 at 82.1. He's just better as a Lion. But he was better. He was better than Lloyd Cushenberry his last year when he was playing over. Did he play some center?
I thought he was playing left guard mostly.
I thought he was playing guard too for Reisner. That's who he replaced.
Yeah.
Lloyd, who came in and played for center for Lloyd though? Because Lloyd got hurt too.
I think he did play some center for Denver as well.
Played some center.
Yep. And then you had, I think, some maybe Wattenberg snaps as well. I don't remember. But yeah, Glasgow, I mean, we talked about him a lot last offseason. Like, he's a useful piece. You love him as your 6th offensive lineman.
But not for the free agent money that you bought him for. He just...
No. Yep. Also, the fact that he plays in a line with arguably the best right tackle and center in football helps him a little bit out there in Detroit Frank Ragnow's a different man. He's so good. I take him over Creed
I
Humphrey.
like that Penny Sewell guy. I remember liking that guy.
Yeah, God. I don't think there's been an offensive lineman in the draft of his caliber since he came out, but that's just me. Joe Alt's good, but Sewell's a little different. But that was a heck of a draft, man. Back at it though, man. The Broncos. What an investment in the offensive line, Scott. I mean, you have, I think, Bowles is making $17 million per year right now, 1 year left, but that's a contract that was signed a while ago. So that's on the, you're at the financial benefit side of that side right now. 17.
Yeah, but McGlinchey and Ben Powers with their restructures are down to 13 combined.
Yeah.
So when you look at 2025, here's the soundbite. Here's a soundbite for you, Nick. Is this the end of Garrett Bowles?
It might be. That said, you're going to be out of the red next season in dead cap hit, and in theory, you should have a rookie quarterback contract. You're going to have some areas where you can splurge a little bit because you're not paying that extra money for the quarterback position. So maybe that is for the offensive line. I think that this makes the pathway for Bowles returning more narrow, but I wouldn't completely rule it out because we've talked about on, and we got some spam in here. But
one of them. Oh,
yeah.
I guess. See, I just deleted it once, and then I deleted once, thinking, okay, I'll give you the benefit of the doubt. But the second time, okay,
you're gone. But
bye.
Yep. See ya. Peace.
So long.
Long John.
Here's my point on this here, real quick, Nick. Okay, because of the restructures, the money didn't really hit yet. But you've got Mike McGlinchey has a cap hit next year of $24 million. Ben Powers has a cap hit of $17 million. You just heard me say it's combined 13 next year. This year. Well, it's 40. And then Quinn Miners' deal kicks in. Best case scenario, if you take the 40 guaranteed across 5, will be probably 12. Would be best case next year would be 12, and then jump up to like 25 the next year.
Yep.
So you're talking, there's 3 pieces right there, and you're talking $55 million into 3, and you haven't talked about Garrett Bowles needing a new contract. But to your point, if he does sign an extension, you can backload it some too and knock his cap number down to 10.
And given what we saw from the Broncos, I mean, if Miners, we talked about him still having a long path of play and success, this contract might be, reallocated. You have all those
I can't believe
guaranteed
he hasn't
money, only
signed a new one. That's my thing. If he was going to be back next year, why hasn't he signed a new deal already?
I think that the Broncos are not sure yet. Also with Bulls, I was talking about messing with Miners' contract, but the Bulls could still be back. Again, we're kind of seeing what happens with Bo Nix out here and just different options. And also, it seemed like there was some not just kind of down vibes from Bulls. I mean, he's been on this team since 2017, and he's not sniffed a winning record. So, I mean, maybe it'd be good for everybody if they moved on and get one of Sean Payton's guys in here. But Bulls, I mean, still, he's going to get $20 million on the open market just because of what tackles go for. I mean, he's at the end of his prime. Like we talked about, offensive lineman lasting a little bit longer, but he's still a very serviceable piece. So we'll see. But I think, again, the pathway for him returning became a little more narrow with the Miners contract. But when you have a rookie quarterback contract, Scott, there's some areas where you can splurge. And the offensive line seems to be like that's what it's going to be for the Broncos. Just talking about that now. I know we were talking about the 2024, 2025 year cap hits, but the overall investment on the offensive line is massive, Scott. This is from Ben Solak. You can find this information, Spot Rack, Over the Cap, etc. But Denver's paying $20 million per year on Quinn Miners, which is the third most for guards. 12.875 on Ben Powers, 16th most among guards. 17.5 to McGlinchey, 16th among tackles. 17 on Garrett Bowles, 18th among tackles. I mean, Sean Payton has come in and said, we are investing in the offensive line, and that is something that should be very helpful for a rookie quarterback. Now, we have a lot of questions about the weapons, Scott, a lot of unknowns there, but the offensive line starters are amongst the highest paid units in the entire NFL and should be something that gives an identity to this team and helps the rookie quarterback.
Your quarterback helps that, but you're also in a with the money that you've invested on the offensive line, you're kind of in the we need our quarterback to be good sooner rather than later mode as well,
Mm-hmm.
which still to me goes to the play Bo Nix now. I think we're all on board with that. We want to see Bo Nix this year, not Jarrett Stidham or Zach Wilson. And then you got to probably, here we go, talking draft already. You got to go wide receiver. Would it make sense to go with the number one pick, wide receiver? I mean, best player available, blah, blah, blah. But would you say that I need cost control players at premium positions? Wide receiver might be the most needed.
I would still probably argue edge rusher because your top two guys are going to be free agents at the end of the year, and it looks like a very, very talented edge rusher class, and it's a step down at wide receiver next year. How it looks, I mean, things will change, and it's going to be hard to not step down considering the talent at the top of last year's class. But right now, you have Luther Burden and the Arizona guy who stand out, but I don't think it's next year looks like a down year for wide receiver in the draft, where it's very much an up year for edge rusher, interior defensive line. And that's an area, I mean, Sean Payton, only one first round wide receiver that I can think of in his entire time with the Saints in Brandon Cooks. A lot of defensive linemen, a lot of defensive linemen. So I would lean defensive line right now, then offensive tackle, then pass catcher.
You're never going to break my heart saying edge ever.
No.
But I just, you look at the market and the cost it takes I like second round receivers, frankly.
Yep.
I just feel like that's where you can get your best value is in the second round. It's like, yeah, well, it's hit and miss. It's hit and miss on all of them for one, but we have pointed out 4 years in a row, some guys in the second round that have been pretty good football players, and it will happen again this year as well.
It doesn't happen as much in the defensive line. That's for sure. But really excited for Quinn Miners to be here. Who is next for the Broncos? A lot of Patrick Surtain talk. Patrick Surtain is a little different. Go ahead.
Yeah, he's got 2 years, so that might change it a little bit.
3, right?
Yeah, I mean, 3 with a franchise tag.
Yeah, and he's
but 2 years. The impetus wasn't quite there. Miners was an unrestricted free agent at the end of this year, where you've got 2 years on Pat Surtain. So I think we're a year away from Surtain still.
I am 100% with you. And to that point, you got 2-3 years for Surtain. He plays a position that it tends to fall off pretty dramatically. Also, with where the cornerback market's gone the last few years, Scott, Surtain's going to want a deal that is going to be so far away from anybody else that I think it's hard to negotiate right now. Because who's the highest paid cornerback right now? Is Jair Alexander? I mean,
the Green Bay one who won't hit anybody. Oh my God, I couldn't believe. I'm still mad about that.
There's
watching him play, and I looked it up, and I'm like, wait a minute, that's the guy making all that money, the one who won't get in there. Attitude and effort, man. That's the only time I'll start dogging on players.
And it's been like 2 off seasons have passed, and that's still the number one contract. So the cornerback market's a little bit weird right now. I don't know if it's because of the amount of off coverage and too high safety shells, making that your true island man corners don't really exist. I don't know if it's just the way the market is right now in the multiple draft classes where you haven't had a truly elite guy emerge. But Surtain's contract, I think there'd be a little bit of, it's going to be a little tenuous, I think, because of what he deserves and is going to ask for versus where the market is at right now. Because we've had multiple off seasons now where I feel like the people predicting what these cornerback contracts are going to be much smaller than they actually are. So
who are the guys though? That you normally look at the year before, right? To say who's it going to be? Well, it's not going to be Jeff Okudah. He was the number 3 overall pick. Like who could reset the market for him this year, or is it going to be Pat Surtain? AJ Terrell's going to get a good contract, but he's not going to reset it. Jeff Okudah was number 3 overall. CJ Henderson was number 9 overall. Then AJ Terrell won't reset it, but that's really it from that class. In front of Jalen Johnson already got a pretty good contract. But the next market-setting deal is going to be Pat Surtain. It probably might be a year.
Yep. And we're talking about, I see the comment here from, it said, I don't know who it was. Somebody mentioned that Jalen Johnson, the highest paid. He was just paid, but he's only, in terms of the average per year, the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8th highest paid. L'Jarius Sneed just got paid as well. They're talking about, oh man, Sneed traded, he's going to be so valuable. Maybe get 22, 23. Only gets 19. So Cornerback market's kind of weird. Surtain's going to really
average
reset
is
it.
still Jair Alexander, followed by Denzel Ward, followed by Marshawn Lattimore. Marshawn's making all that, and he's still 24 years old. It seems like he's been around forever.
He's 28 years old.
Age at signing. Apologies.
Yep. So, Diggs.
So yeah, there hasn't been a new deal since those guys. There hasn't been a market-setting deal at the cornerback market. We will find out because it's not going to be AJ, and AJ's up next.
Yeah.
It'll be Pat Surtain. That's when we'll find out.
AJ will probably get 18 to 19.
Sauce was after. Sauce came after Pat, so Pat will be first.
Yep. So there will be new cornerback contracts that are going to be resetting. Surtain, Sauce. Also, I'm going to toss out McDuffie as well because he's been awesome, unfortunately, for the Chiefs, and he's going to get a huge contract as well. One of the smarter players in football. I mean, the reason the Chiefs are moving on from Snead is because they know they're going to have to pay McDuffie here soon. He's pretty darn awesome. But
Kevin, one last question, and then we got a bolt. He comes in, he says, now that Miners got paid, do you think he might fall off? Some tend to do that. Hope he doesn't. We talked about this a little bit earlier, Kevin, and I said that Miners has a little bit of crazy in him, which you need some of that on your team. I get the feeling that when you play football at Wisconsin Whitewater or you're playing at a lower division, you play it because you love it. I get the feeling Quinn Miners would be the same guy if he was playing for rent money and meal money. So no, I don't expect him. I expect we might see a little bit more of his personality, but I think we're going to get an ascending player who will keep playing and keep trying to whip the guy that's put in front of him like he's been doing since I first laid eyes on him in Mobile, Alabama.
I don't think he will fall off per se, but he's coming off a very good season where he was healthy. And again, knock on wood, but it's just the nature of the game. I mean, he might have a dip a little bit this season because he gets turf toe, right? Or something like that, a nagging niggle injury. I mean, last year I've talked about it on these shows 100 times. Denver had unbelievable health on the offensive line last season. I think they're starting at 5. I think McGlinchey missed like 10 snaps. Other than that, you had every single guy start all the snaps. So that's something that injury could happen. You might see a small dip in performance because he was up here. You know, it's a lot of people talk about these young players and they think it's a linear growth. No, hopefully you're continuing to ascend up, but it's up and down for a lot of these guys. So I don't expect him to fall off because of laziness or issues or kind of losing that fire. But happy for him. Hopefully I'm excited for the press conference whenever that comes. Well-deserved and excited for rookies to report to training camp today. So fun time, Scott. I know you got to get on out of here, so we're going to wrap it up. Shout out to Miners again for getting paid. We appreciate him. Make sure you're following Scott and I on Twitter. Scott's at Scott Kennedy. I'm at Nick Kendell, MHH. Also follow us at Mile High Huddle if you haven't done so yet. Facebook.com/Mile High Huddle and Facebook.com/Mile High Huddle Pod is where you can find us. And of course, subscribe, like, and share over on YouTube. Shout out to all of our super chat givers today. Michael Ronquillo, of course, coming in, helping us out and keeping the lights on for us. So Scott, any final words? I know you got to run.
Nope. Thanks to Michael. Michael breaking the ice and the sunset and the sunrise of the show. 500 in the books. Looking forward to another 500 more. Michael says, great show today. Nick and Scott on Broncos for breakfast. Michael, have a great day. Same to you, everybody. Thank you for being here with us. We're here for you. And, well, that's why we're here.
Absolutely. All right, guys. Well, we'll see you again on Monday. Hope you're doing well and continue to choose kindness and compassion. Go Broncos.